What's your name?
Justine.
Justine, what's your question?
Well, I'm a public school teacher in Brooklyn, New York. And first of all, thank you all so much. You brought so much knowledge and light into my life in the last few years. I've changed in amazing ways thanks to so many of you. I am faced with a lot of resistance every day, even in my own classroom, trying to bring empathy, social emotional learning to my students. Constantly met with this indoctrinated need these teachers, my co-teachers have for punishment, discipline, and kind of instilling the same values they trust because they were indoctrinated through the same public school system. I'm kind of trying to break through it all and figure out a way to use my background in education and linguistics to move something forward with education, making more progressive and independent ideas more mainstream, bringing them to urban settings as well. And I was just wondering if there's any advice any of you might have for a young educator kind of at the dawn of a career.
So to summarize, is there any advice that anyone on this panel can give?
She's asking if there's any advice. Oh, can you hear me?
Don't worry. So, is there any advice that anyone on this panel can give to a young educator to actually get better across or can better relate to her students?
I'd like to ask, is Jennifer Nettles here? Lift up your hand, Jennifer. Okay, that young lady is in a very similar situation. So if you two want to get your heads together and talk about how you can do things, that's the advice I can give. For sure, Jacque can give much wiser advice, but
Thank you.
let's pass the microphone over that way.
So, for everyone else, I don't know if the microphone picked it up, said, don't speak the truth unless you want to lose your job.
Hi everyone. First of all, Jacque, happy birthday, happy 100th. We're all here for you. And you're such an inspiration to everyone, and we just want to thank you for your input into society and your motivation and inspiration. So thank you. Panel, thank you everyone for your insight today. It's been a very enriching learning experience. And I just have a question for everybody out there. And a lot of people in this room might be a lot like me. And I just want to know, what areas of study would you recommend, and what are some things that we as a whole and as a society can do right now to implement these concepts into the society of today?
And to talk to other people about the Venus concept, what it is, as best you can do it. And the best way to do it is to say, if you were born in China, you speak Chinese. If you were born in France, you speak French. You're a little Frenchman. You'd never know English, and you'd never know English folklore.
We usually advise, too, that people, if they're looking for something to study, to go into any of the sciences. And also learn as much as you can about the Venus Project, talk to others, as Jacque always says, and join us with the different groups that we're working on. We have a tremendous mentor course where you can learn about this as well. And sign up for our newsletter and you can learn the new things that will be coming out on the web. We check out on the web under projects, on our homepage you'll see volunteers and then projects that we have. And there will be a lot more coming online soon as the website is growing.
Just to sum this up, directly related to the question, anything related to science is what advances society. So this should be what you should study. There was a question over there.
Yes, Jacque, happy birthday. We all love you so very much. Quick question. If there was an EMP, a Carrington event type of EMP, how would that affect the mainframe of the computers and the transportation system?
So anyone on the panel? If there was an EMP, electromagnetic pulse, which basically disables all electrical circuitry, how would the city system react to that?
Well, I would like to try. When people talk about technology and redundancy, we always refer to what we have in this system, because in this system, things build without redundancy and with less safety features possible, because corporations need to make profit, and this is what is going. Actually, bottom line is the profit. So when people talking about if computer fails, what's going to happen? So we're not going to build just one computer. We're going to build 5, 10, 20 computers working together in a mesh network. So if we're talking about specifically computers, but everything will be built with redundancy and with efficiency and with safety, because Venus project it is not just the technology and not just architecture. It's the way that help people and create the environment, safe environment first of all. So when you talk about if something happened with a machine, it is actually technically and with standpoint of engineering very easy to overcome if you don't have a limitation of the monetary system and you can use the best materials and the best practices. So it is actually not difficult to achieve. So even if something happened, of course we cannot be safe from everything. If something happens, if black holes appear instead of our sun, we cannot account for that. If laws of physics will change suddenly, well, nice to know you guys. But if the science is basically about predictability. If we can predict what's going to happen and where it's going to break down, where we can put our safety mechanism, we're going to put it there, and not one, but many. I hope it sums up.
I guess that's next question over there.
Yeah, hi. It's great to be here. I am from Bolivia. I came here specifically for Jacque's birthday. I'm very glad to be here. I have two questions. One for Dr. Schlinger and one for Roxanne. In Bolivia, there's a lot of indigenous cultures, and as we can see, Jacque always mentions the observation of indigenous cultures in all his research and work. And Bolivia is one of the only countries, if not the only, one of the only countries that has not killed all the indigenous cultures to build development. Sorry for my language. But so there's a lot of indigenous heritage that is present there. I personally have, and this is for Dr. Schlinger, there is processes that indigenous cultures have, such as medicines. I myself have tried ayahuasca and other logics that really have opened and purified. And I think really what we see here, it's my personal belief after my experience in my country, is that the behavioral part of your explanation, as some indigenous leaders I have spoken with have explained, is that these types of processes are meant to be born from the Amazon in order to cleanse people around the world, in order for them to be prepared for a spiritual awakening that will allow a better society for us all. So my question is, have you ever heard about this? Is there any studies in the United States, or have you been related to studies of these types of rituality of indigenous cultures in the U.S. or in South America for behavioral sciences?
No. And I'm not sure exactly what you're saying. So, but I'm pretty sure. I mean, yeah, I don't understand exactly what you're saying. I mean, are you talking about medicinal practices of indigenous cultures?
Yeah. Yes, I think indigenous cultures have not been researched enough as to be named scientific. There's more scientific research now, but I think there isn't a living indigenous culture that has not been infiltrated by the system.
Right.
In South America, there's still some surviving, but I think there's a lot to see there to bring scientific knowledge and study to these cultures, because they do in their prophecies, in their way of thinking, their logic that has a science behind it. They do mention this whole change that Jacque Fresco mentions, and all this this technology that gives balance to the
I don't know. I mean, I'm not speaking about this as a behavioral scientist, but I know that there are scientists and medical practitioners who do go to the Amazon and similar places and find medicinal sources that have been used by indigenous tribes. Much of the modern medicine we have comes from natural resources like that. So, but I can't speak to anything from a behavioral perspective on that.
So, excuse me.
And the question for Roxanne was...
excuse me, please.
Yeah?
There are other people that still want to ask the question, so please hand the microphone back.
Okay. It's only about the cash technology that I don't...
Excuse me, please. There are others waiting to ask questions.
Sorry.
It's just unfair if you maintain asking questions, which are actually, let me point this out, you didn't ask a question. You just made statements. So, who else wants to ask a real question?
So,
I do so. So, the other side, if we have someone there, in the back, please.
So, thank you. Great presentations, everyone. Awesome. There's a lot of technical issues that kind of played devil's advocate, but I actually have a question I don't think most people would ask here, so I'll bring it up here, and the rest I'll leave for the tour. My question is about common heritage, and I hope Jacque can answer this, because common heritage means many, many different things to many different people. And the question that I have is, where do animals fit in this? Non-human animals. Because I feel like many people see animals as resources, as objects to be commodified, objectified, and so forth, whereas many others believe that the world and its resources are their common heritage as well. So I wanted to see what role they play in the vision.
So what role? Your question is basically what
play in the future is they're not put in cages. They're free to roam the field, but the people are enclosed in a long tube, and they walk through the animal areas, and they see them in their natural habitat. But if you put them in a cage, they walk up and back like a man in prison. We have no prisons, no police, because police only defend people with property. Remember that.
One second, please, before you ask your question. Please don't elaborate so much. Ask your question as quickly as possible. There are so many others waiting in line to ask questions, so short and precise.
That's something I wanted to clarify with Dr. Schlinger about the mind. And I just want to make sure your belief is that the mind is not connected to behavior, right? And that's not a physical, right?
No, my belief is there is no mind.
There is no mind.
Right.
No, I'm curious.
It's a construct we came up with.
And you said that that what matters in terms of behavior is physical reality that we can perceive, that we can measure, we can observe. That's where behavior. Obviously, you can observe it, but the mind, the brain, is a real thing. It's an organ, right? And it has signals going through it, and it's a physical reality with the neurons firing. And it seems like that would be observable as well in this form of a scan.
Yeah, I didn't say it wasn't. I said the genes are observable, I said the brain is observable, and I said behavior is observable, and the environment's observable.
Right.
The ultimate causes of behavior do not come from the brain, they don't come from genes, they come from our environment. The brain mediates the behavior-environment relations. It's certainly not unimportant. None of us would be here without our genes or our brain.
Right.
But what matters in terms of what matters is what we do.
Sure.
And so sometimes it's what we say, which is also behavior, and sometimes it's what we do.
I guess I'm trying to emphasize a
Excuse me again.
Sorry.
One question, please, and then if we have time at the end, then we can go another one. So there's one in the back there.
Hi, my name is Alfonso, and my question is about after an economy based resources is installed in the globe, should be like the next step or the view of the next step the transhumanism? I mean the union of the human with the technology to change ourselves?
Okay, let me summarize. The question is the next step after implementation of a resource-based economy transhumanism? Is that correct?
Yeah, is that correct?
So, anyone on the panel who wants to answer that? Transhumanism is basically the merge between technology and humans.
Well, if you're asking about if technology changing humans, yes, it's changing humans. Look around. Many of the people will not be here if we don't have the technological advances we have right now. If you're talking about merger of the human, what we call mind, with their computer, this is really coming from people who don't understand what they're talking about. Because it's not only that they think if they somehow will be able to upload mind into their computer, they can live forever and do all this stuff in virtual reality, all this stuff. So this is basically, they try to find out how for themselves to live forever. So this is the underlying thing. So don't get caught up in this conversation, because if we transhumanism, what it really means, it basically, if you're talking about how technology affecting us, how technology affecting our behavior, how we can use the technology to make our life better, that completely different conversation. I hope I clarified that for you.
So, next question over there somewhere? Yeah?
Are there still different approaches or branches of psychology, or do psychologists agree today? For Dr. Schiller?
Yes and no. I told you I'm parsimonious. Yeah, there are a lot of different branches of psychology, and that's what distinguishes it from the other sciences. All the other sciences have common principles that underlie the science. Psychology does not have a common set of principles. So there are just different theories floating around. They come and go like the seasons, and that's why psychology, in my view, has not produced the same kind of scientific understanding or technology that the other sciences have. And so if psychology is going to do that, or if some other discipline is going to do that, they're going to have to not just have physics envy, which is what many psychologists have, but they actually have to behave the same way that natural scientists behave. And that's hard, because the subject matter that they study is our behavior. And we have a lot of illusions about our behavior, some of which I tried to mention today. And as long as we continue those illusions, then I don't see psychology changing. So, I mean, what I said today, I'm in a vast, vast, vast minority of people in psychology. So.
One thing about psychology that you might have heard Jacque say a lot is that psychology and psychiatry, they try and adjust you to this system, so they have to be crazy.
So the next one, in the back.
Hello. First of all, I want to thank you for all of you guys for being here. We really appreciate this. My question is, talking about engineering and science and the scientific method, how can we apply a scientific method to the model of a city that we want to implement, where everyone can have access to goods and services, and also we can have transportation. How can we do that in a small system, test system for reference, and how can we prove that it works, and how can we prove that it's scalable and that it's good for for deployment, that we can actually do it. Is there a place where we can do it?
So, if I understood you correctly, your question is basically, how can you prove or build a proof of concept of the Venus Project's advocated city systems on a smaller scale?
Well, if I could answer that, there are some companies out there that are testing on smaller scales how, like I was talking about, some sensors work, and they've had some success experimenting with smaller stuff, but obviously Jacque has the blueprints for a design for a successful Venus Project city system. We are just waiting for someone to adopt the aims and proposals of it so we can get this party going here with this Venus Project. I mean, it's obviously going to work. We have the blueprints, we have the technology, we just have to rearrange it and to get things going. So, the next step is for everyone out here to talk to someone, introduce it, show a movie, talk to your neighbor, and get things going, and someone out there will talk to someone else, and then we can create enough awareness where someone will adopt the aims and proposals, and we can get it going. The technology is there, we just have to get it going.
Let me just say something briefly. There is a scientific method, which is the method by which all sciences evolved to where they are. And if you want to prove something, or if you want to test something, you have to follow the same method. That's why I think Jacque and Roxanne are promoting a scientific-based, technology for culture. So you can't just pretend that it's scientific, or you can't just, mouth the words. You actually have to adopt the methodology, and that means you have to have scientists who are committed to the project. And they have to do the same thing they would do if they were going to prove or demonstrate or support anything. And that means running experiments, taking data, analyzing the data, making comparisons, doing all of that the way scientists do. How to do that on a large scale is unfathomable right now. So maybe you start on some kind of small scale, and even then you're going to run into resistance because, as many of the people have talked about today, even if you show on a microcosmic level that something is more efficient, effective, works better, there's a system in place, which Abby has talked about, and Roxanne and everybody has talked about, there's a system in place to resist that. So they're not going to go, gently into the night. So, you have to worry about it, then you have to figure out another scientific approach, which will persuade enough people that what we're proposing is workable, and show them the evidence.
Thank you. Over there.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah, happy birthday to Mr. Fresco. I'm Hector from Georgia. I'm an electrical technician specializing in solar energy. And the question is along the same lines as the last gentleman. There's a lot of resistance out there here in Florida locally, where solar energy and other alternative energies, sustainable green energies are being attacked, resisted, thwarted, and put down by power companies, governments, local politicians, even groups. What do we do as citizens, as individual citizens, to combat that, to promote solar energy, wind energy, alternative energies? What can we do as individuals, as communities, to fight against these interests, which are multi-billion-dollar corporations and governments, which are a lot more powerful than communities, individuals? What can we do about that?
Patchwork you can do in this culture. Oh, thank you. You can work and protest and say not want the children to be whipped in juvenile home, and you can acquire that, or you can protest and try and get some land for Greenpeace or something like that, and you can pay for it and acquire it. But in this culture, a new political party can come in and wipe all that out. There is no security in this culture. It's a tremendous push, and there is no making this culture ethical and just, no matter how much you push. This culture is dying. So, you know, it takes just as much effort to work for a culture that would work for everyone, where you wouldn't have problems implementing clean sources of energy and dealing with all the other problems that we have. We're trying to uphold a dying system and keeping it up with Band-Aids. So, you know, I think we're better off pushing for something that would take care of everything. While true, it's very necessary to try and implement these other things because the world is crashing and polluting. But as long as this system is in place, it's going nowhere but killing, polluting, and infiltrating our minds in a very detrimental way.
If I could just add really quickly, I think that you can also utilize examples like Costa Rica, municipalities in Germany that have used and converted to completely renewable energy, almost completely, and use that as a model and say, look, having it as an example of the Venus project. So we can utilize the examples that have successfully been implemented in the world to say, look at how it's done, go to our local municipalities, try to initiate ballot referendums, while using these avenues that are open, while people are open to renewable energy, with introducing things that are bigger, like the Venus project and Jacque's vision.
I take 3 more questions because it's been a long day and I don't want to stress his good mood and his good condition that he has today. So 3 more questions.
Hi, I'm Lindsay. I'm a mechanical engineer in Brooklyn, New York. And I'm wondering, during this time of transition, to get to there, what solutions you've seen that have actually been working, or you look at it and say, yes, that's going to help us get there.
You want to deal with the transition? There's a question about the transition.
What's the question?
The question is basically, the question was, what working examples have you seen that could actually work towards the transition?
You want to discuss the transition?
Yeah. Somebody asked a question about the transition. It will be very rough with a lot of shooting and corruption. I can't help that. That's the predicament we're in now. The government asks scientists if they can do use radioactive material in the bombs. And they said yes. I would never say yes to a government request on weapons because the government is too stupid to use them intelligently. So never give them any new weapons. They're not smart enough to use them wisely.
Jacque, the question was also, do you know any working examples that could help during the transitions?
Well, the island of Tuamotu that I was on, where the natives wore no clothing. And they put the t-shirts on the girl when they came to church so that bare breasts weren't exposed. And the girls cut 2 holes in the t-shirts. Because they were uncomfortable, they had no idea why they were wearing t-shirts.
You see that as a transition?
Yeah.
Well, let's go with the negative transition.
I would like to add to it real quick. Yeah, the transition, if we're talking about transition and workable alternative, most of the people try to, when they try to come up with some kind of alternative, they try to come up with alternative to immediate problem they have. So it's not, they don't usually look at it as a system approach. So lots of which work on the short term might not work on the long term. So what we actually proposing is to start from the experimental city and with a network of volunteers. So we're working toward it right now. And next we're going to scale it up. Scale it up to make it work together and actually share the technologies and idea and so on. As for right now, we have these scattered, different actually good solutions around the world scattered, and people do not communicate. If we provide environment for them to communicate, to get together, and start to collaborate on actually system approach to the transition and their solutions they have, it will grow to something else.
I just want to touch on that real quick. As far as the transition, it's not a technological issue. It's strictly a social and political blockade at this time.
Can I make a statement? I sort of wanted to say this all day. It's easy to demonize individuals. It's easy to demonize politicians, police, people in the military, governments, you name it. They're all human beings. They're all causes of their behavior. You can say, I wouldn't do something or I would do something, but of course you don't know because you are not in that person's shoes. You don't have their learning history. You don't have their upbringing. As Jacque pointed out many times about our upbringing. So, you know, it gets cheers from the crowd to demonize the government or the politicians or the corporations, but those things don't exist in an abstract. They're composed of individual human beings. They're biological organisms. There are laws that govern their behavior. If you want to change the system, you have to understand what governs the behavior of the individuals that comprise the system, and then you have to, and I'm not saying that this is something we can do or we can do easily or we can do immediately, but then if you understand what governs their behavior, then you design environments that change the contingencies for their behavior. And you know, I don't know how to do that. I know what the laws are that govern their behavior, but I don't know how to address that question. It's the $64 million question, I think, for us. But it doesn't do any good, I don't think, to demonize them, because if you were in the position of any of those people, if any of you had been raised as Donald Trump was raised, you'd be Donald Trump. So I think we need to understand what makes people do what they do, figure out what makes all the people that do what they do in those positions, and figure out ways of changing the environment to change their behavior. And that's sort of my
to add one really quick thing before we move on, which is I think there's plenty of working examples of people cooperatively owning things, seizing things from businesses and having a cooperative ownership structure, and I think that would actually be the first transition to then implement the technological advances within those structures. And there's plentiful examples around the world of these things happening, and plenty of potentials within this country right now for that to happen.
Hi, my name is Doreen. I'm from Daytona Beach, Florida. I'm a clockmaker's apprentice. But more importantly, what I want to know is in Daytona Beach we have a huge homeless problem. We're the only city that has a Salvation Army in which the homeless people may only stay one night. I myself am a little bit timid, but I managed to get in front of the city council. And I mentioned something about the Venus Project. I don't have enough information. I'd like to please invite somebody to come and speak with them because they're listening. It's televised. Pam Woods and Josh Wagner, both commissioners and county commissioners, have been listening, and we need some sort of solution because they are going to build a $4 million facility in which they'll spend $16 million over the next 10 years, and that is not a permanent solution. I came up with a few solutions and stages for them, but what I would like to really know is that is my avenue. So if anybody had any, any wherewithal to do anything, stand up in front of your local government and say something and bring the information that you know. But most of all, what I want to know is, how do we get the money to start that first piece of pie? How do we all here amass the resources that are going to be needed? Because in this society where we use money, clearly it is going to take money first before we can get to there. What system is in place now for the Venus Project in which all of us here can be involved to amass the resources needed to at least get one step, the land, the materials, anything? What can we do?
Well, we hate to talk about things before they happen because all sorts of things can go wrong. But all I can say on that issue is that we are working on that. We are setting the foundation for that right now. And we have been working on it for a while, but we are working on it quite diligently. And you will hear about it when we're at that stage to be able to announce it to people.
Someone mentioned to me after my talk that we should get somebody like Bill Gates or Elon Musk interested because, no, I don't have their emails. But there are 500 people here, somebody might.
Regarding Daytona Beach, I'll come speak with you after this. I'll address that, okay?
I'd just like to stress what I said at the end of my little talk about joining with you to learn about the Venus Project more and more, because you know it's not just 2 documentaries and a book, it's a lot to study. So get yourselves prepared to be able to answer these questions that you're asking now, and go out there and share the word, but do it with us, join with us, okay? We've got a few POCs here and what have you, so that's something that we really do need now, people to get out there and share the information. Jacque and Roxanne are doing the city thing, that's their task. What they need from us is to learn about the project and share the information.
So the last question, please. Where's the microphone? Over there.
Hi, Mr. Fresco. I just wanted to thank you for being a beacon of light we can all shine under, and a ripple in the ocean of our history. I just wanted to ask you, 100 years, that's like the campfire age to me. And you can learn a lot from a campfire when you sit down and listen to people. I just want to know, after 100 years, what can you wake up? What do you guys wake up laughing about today? I just want to know what makes you laugh. I haven't heard you laugh.
What makes you laugh? I would say politicians.
Okay, I would like everyone in this room, the panelists and the audience, I would like to thank you all for being here today.